The judge nodded and said, "Witness, please answer her question."
"Yes."
Without other choices, Isaac answered the question.
"I did it with proper means, though."
"As a witness, you only need to tell us yes or no," Kiera interrupted him. "Mr. Davidson, have your mother, Mira, and Kenneth known each other for a long time?" Isaac's face twitched slightly. He knew that Aaron must have done a background check and that he would have evidence for this question, so he responded with,
"Yes."
"Was there a personal issue or love-related problem between your mother and Kenneth?"
"I refuse to answer this question. Let me repeat this again. I'm not a suspect. I am a witness. You have no right to question me like that,"
Isaac said. Kiera smiled and continued with an aggressive tone. "Your mother was once Kenneth's student," she pursued Kenneth. "Back then, Mr. Eisenberg was already married."
"Enough!"
Isaac's eyes shone fiercely.
"For what you've said, I can sue you for personal attack and slandering my mother." "Counselor, be aware of your questions,"
the judge warned Kiera. Kiera calmly picked up an SD card from the table and said, "Judge, I have a recording which is related to the case." Isaac's eyes fixed on the SD card and his pupil suddenly contracted. A clerk plugged the SD card into a stereo. Then Rachel's voice could be heard in court. "What if they found out? This is too risky. Besides, people will hate me if they know the truth."
"If you have the courage to take the risk, I'll send you out of the country when it's done."
Then a man's cold, deep, but very tempting voice was heard.
"You're an orphan, and you're poor. Even if you work hard enough to finish your studies in college, you may still not be able to live a good life. I'll give you $5 million and complete the migration procedures for you. You'll be living a comfortable life abroad."
"But the judge won't believe that Principal Eisenberg molested me so easily, right?"
"That you don't need to worry about. I'll arrange everything."
The recording ended abruptly. The courtroom stayed silent for a few seconds, and then people started whispering to each other. The jury, the spectators, and the reporters all turned to Isaac in shock. He had just talked, so they all recognized his voice from the recording. Isaac closed his eyes. His handsome face was tight and otherwise expressionless. Kenneth, who was a despondent in the prisoner's box, suddenly raised his head and stared at Isaac angrily.
"Isaac, you framed me? Why did you do that to me? I've treated you like my own son ever since you got engaged to my daughter."
Isaac opened his eyes. He didn't look at Kenneth, but calmly looked at the judge and said,
"Judge, they're framing me. I intend to stay silent."
Kiera smiled faintly and said, "The recording doesn't lie. The technicians can easily find out if it's fake. Judge, on behalf of my client, I want to accuse Isaac of falsely accusing Mr. Eisenberg of indecency and illegally occupying the Eisenberg family property 2 years ago." The judge frowned and talked with the jurors for a while, saying, "There is a change in the case. The trial will be postponed to a week from now. Mr. Davidson, by then you will be the defendant." After the trial, reporters surrounded Isaac.
"Mr. Davidson, do you hate Kenneth because he abandoned your mother? Is that why you framed him?"
Isaac was blinded by the flashes of light. Shielding his eyes, he said coldly,
"Please watch your mouths. Stop hazarding guesses and making baseless accusations against my mother, or I'll not go easy on you all."
With that, he shoved aside the reporters. His bodyguards followed close behind, keeping the reporters at bay as they walked briskly outwards. April glared at him from behind before running after Kenneth. "Dad!" Kenneth was about to be taken away by the policeman. At the sight of her, his face broke into a smile.
"April, it's been tough on you. You've been so busy because of my affairs."
April saw that Kenneth no longer appeared as weak as before. Before she could say anything else, Aaron walked up briskly and rested his hand on her shoulder and said abruptly,
"Dad, don't say that. It's only right for me to be busy over your matters."
April. She was sure that Kenneth was referring to her and not Aaron. As for this presuming son-in-law-to-be, Kenneth was momentarily at a loss for words, but before he could react, the policeman took him away. Walking over in her high heels, Kira wore a huge smile on her face. Mr. Bennett, Miss Eisenberg, rest assured, the truth of the matter will surface soon enough, and your father's grievances will be redressed. Lawyer Kira, you're really capable. April stuck her thumbs up in admiration. You were really compelling in court. How admirable. She had never seen a lawyer as young and capable as Kiera was. No wonder Aaron chose to work with her all these years. You must always be fearless and confident, no matter what. Then the judge will naturally believe you. Kiera's lips curled into a smile. Of course, you have to thank Mr. Bennett for collating all the evidence.
I'm helping my own woman. What's there to thank? It's only right,
Aaron said as he took April's arm and walked out. April held onto his waist tightly. With every step she took, she felt her heart tremble with emotion. At the exit, she turned back to look at the courthouse. Her eyes started to water, uncontrollably.
What's the matter?
Aaron looked at her concernedly. It's like I'm in a dream. April gave him a teary smile. It's not my first or second time here at Rosewood City Courthouse. I'll never forget how helpless and desolate I felt when I walked out of this courthouse 3 years ago, with everybody scolding and saying nasty things about my father. It was so crowded that I could not even leave the courthouse. The reporters were stuffing their microphones into my face. I heard the nastiest things ever. Afterward, when I kept returning to submit my appeals, the security guards here even started to recognize me and started denying me entry. I never imagined there would be a day when I could just stand, justified, to appeal in my father's case. Junting, I know I'm so fortunate to have met you. You sheltered me from the rain. You helped me stand tall and proud. You helped me see the light.
Silly.
Aaron looked down and wiped the tears from her eyes. When Richard first uncovered the hardships that April had suffered in Rosewood City, Aaron swore that he would never let harm come to her again. If Kenneth was innocent, he would do all he could to prove it. He only wondered, why had he not met her earlier?
It's all in the past. With me around, you will only be able to bully others.
April smiled, breaking into laughter as she nodded. Looking at them, Kira felt gratified. She liked Aaron, but the latter did not share the same feelings, so she believed that becoming work partners with him was a good enough choice. Isaac drove all the way back to the Magma Group building. As soon as he entered the office, he kicked the table gruffly and yelled with anger.
Where the hell is Alan? Didn't I call him on my way? It takes about an hour for him to get here from his law firm.
Clark followed him closely into the office. After answering his question, Clark continued helplessly.
Mr. Davidson, I think the current situation isn't good for you. You should turn yourself in. Now April is going to charge you with 2 counts. If you take the initiative to confess, the judge might give you a lighter sentence. Even if you're not thinking of yourself, you need to think of your mother. She's over 50 years old and has been living in a nursing home. If you went to prison, who would take care of her? If that did happen, I think you may as well sell the shares of the company. At the very least, you can ensure your mother's quality of life while you're in prison.
Before he finished his rambling thought, Isaac punched him in the face.
Do you want me to go to prison?
Isaac grasped his collar, raging, and shouted,
Clark, are you on my side or on Aaron's? Don't you forget that you got what you have now with my help. Why didn't you say so when I was going all good? I'm surprised that you're that kind of man.
Clark's eyes showed disappointment because Isaac continually doubted him.
Mr. Davidson, do you still not understand? To win this case, you need both strong manpower and financial power. It's the first time Kiera has engaged in a lawsuit like this, but you've seen how capable she is. She must have lots of evidence. I've checked. Aaron has found some of your mother's classmates and convinced them to testify. A lot of things are going against you. Lawyer Mike might have a chance to win this, but for Lawyer Allen, the chance is way too small, unless you sell the Eisenberg family's house for cash. Except for that house, you have already mortgaged your other real properties and cars for the company. I will sell that house over my dead body.
Isaac's eyes suddenly turned red and he choked.
That's all I have.
Except for his memories in that house, he had nothing.
Isaac, just give up.
Clark tried to persuade him with a bitter smile.
You've already made too many mistakes. If you didn't send Kenneth to prison and force April to stay around, things might not be as bad as they are today. There's no way back for me. Isaac shambled a few steps backward and leaned against the table behind him. A while later, he murmured, I'm gonna sell my shares of the Magma Group and use the money on the lawsuit. Contact buyers, now. He abruptly raised his head and continued, I'm going to hire Lawyer Mike. Clark frowned, feeling extra helpless. The news that Isaac intended to sell the shares of Magma Group spread quickly. The next day, Aaron and April, who stayed in Rosewood City, heard about it. It seems that Isaac has no intention of confessing. April was a little disappointed. She thought that Isaac would at least have some conscience left. If he confessed, she might not put him in a desperate situation. After all, he had a mother to take care of. If he hires Lawyer Mike again, it might not be easy. After all, he is one of the best. He takes on cases that are virtually unwinnable in other lawyers' eyes. Kiera looked worried. But you can do anything with money, and Lawyer Mike is someone who loves money. Aaron pondered shortly before telling Marvin, Try to find a way to buy the Magma Group equities. That'll be troublesome if it falls into the hands of others. No matter what, this company was founded by Kenneth. If they could repurchase the equities, Kenneth and April would be relieved. April could guess what his thoughts were. She was touched, but also a little worried. Isaac might not sell them to you. I think you shouldn't purchase the equities. Actually, originally, I did not want to purchase them. I wanted to get them back through the legal process in court. But now, Isaac is taking action so quickly. Furthermore, although the Eisenberg Group funds can't be transferred, it's still sizable and will draw a considerable amount of interest from people. Aaron interrupted her and grabbed her hands, looking at her gently. Mr. Bennett, you might not be able to buy them anymore. Marvin suddenly smiled bitterly. I've just received the news that a foreign buyer just made a sizable offer to purchase Isaac's shares. They've already arranged to sign the papers today. Foreign buyer? Aaron was confused, frowning. He asked, Who? I'm not sure either. It's quite a mystery, Marvin answered. It must be a foreign party interested in gaining a foothold in our film industry. I was thinking, if we were to make a better offer, we might actually increase the prices of Isaac's equities instead. In that case, we'll reconsider it. Aaron nodded. No matter what, he cannot let Isaac gain another fortune. 3 p.m. at the Magma Group conference room. Isaac sat at the head of the table. Suddenly, a group of people walked in. The first to enter was a woman who appeared to be in her 40s. She was dressed in a sky blue colored shirt and a white pencil skirt. Although she was middle-aged, she had managed to maintain her figure. She gave off the aura of a career-oriented woman. As she neared, it was evident that she had multi-ethnic features. She had a tall nose with deep dimples. The sight of her made most men swoon at the thought of how elegant and beautiful she must have been when she was younger. Isaac was momentarily dazed, too. The buyer had claimed to be a foreign company trying to gain a foothold in the local industry. Because the buyer made a decent offer and considering that he was in urgent need of the funds, he had not carefully investigated the identity of the buyer. He never imagined the buyer to be a woman. Moreover, there was a strange sense of familiarity about this woman. Hello. Isaac stood up and shook her hand. Mr. Davidson. Hello. The middle-aged woman shook his hand briefly and both of them sat down. Isaac was dazed. He smiled and asked, How should I address you? The woman smiled but did not reply. Instead, she reached for the documents that her young assistant brought. We've agreed on a price and prepared our funds. Mr. Davidson, sign your name here. Once it's done, this company will no longer be yours. As for your other queries, I think that there is no point in further conversation. Isaac felt slightly uneasy. He could sense that he was being belittled. However, he could only sell the equities. Although he had shares in the film and television villa, comparatively, there would still be long-term benefits. All right. Isaac looked down and signed his name, as did the woman. The contract was signed. Each of them had a copy. Isaac casually glanced at the lady's name, Brenner Haley. Mr. Davidson, please make a trip to the Industrial and Commercial Bureau with me for the change registration.
I heard that the Industrial and Commercial Bureau is not far from here. We'll meet at 4:30 at the entrance." The middle-aged woman elegantly stood up, then quickly left with her people. Looking at the contract, Isaac searched through his memory for that woman's name. Seeing him staying motionless, Clark asked,
"Mr. Davidson, what's wrong? I feel strange about this."
Isaac closed the files, thought for a moment, and said,
"Don't you feel that this Brenner Haley purchased my shares a bit too quickly? She didn't even try to lower the price. You see, the other companies..." "Mr. Davidson, you only need the money to be wired into your account as agreed," Clark reminded him. "No matter why she bought the shares from you, that's her own business. Besides, our country has a great population. Every year we top the box office rank. It's completely reasonable for foreign business people to target this cake."
Isaac pondered for a short time, then adjusted his tie and stood up. 1 hour later, Isaac and Brenner Haley did the change registration inside the Industrial and Commercial Bureau. Everything was settled. As they walked to the bureau entrance, Isaac paused and said,
"Miss Haley, now that we've gone through all the procedures, about the company..."
"Mr. Davidson, you have been leading the company for the last couple of years. I believe that of everyone, you know the company's current situation best. I'd like to invite you to dinner so we can talk about the current state of the company and the film and television industry in detail." Brenner Haley invited him with a smile. Isaac paused briefly, then nodded. He guessed that Brenner Haley must have a powerful background, as she paid billions of yuan without difficulty. Becoming friends with someone like that would do no bad for him. At this point, Brenner Haley's chauffeur drove her Mercedes-Benz up. She raised an arm, invited Isaac into the car. "Mr. Davidson, let's talk in the car. I'll let one of my people to drive your car so that we'll have enough room."
"Drive my car. Follow us,"
Isaac said to Clark, then stepped into the Benz. He sat in the back seat, then found that the person who followed him into the back seat was Brenner Haley's young assistant. Brenner Haley herself took the front seat. Isaac was surprised. Brenner Haley turned back and explained, "I'm sorry, I get car sick, so I usually take the front." Isaac understood. Indeed, many people who had car sickness found their symptoms lighten slightly when they sat in the front.
"Then I guess it was a hard trip for you to travel from abroad,"
he said. "I've taken the pills, of course, yet still I threw up a few times." Isaac nodded, then said,
"Which restaurant do you prefer? I guess you're not familiar with Lukesville, why don't I..."
"I grew up here," Brenner Haley interrupted him, and continued, "But this place has changed a lot." Isaac was stunned a little.
"May I ask how long since you've left the city?"
"About 20 years.
"That's a very long time."
Isaac sighed.
"The city is developing well now. There are many good restaurants. Why don't I recommend one?"
"No need. I've already booked a table." Isaac knitted his brows as he was interrupted yet again. He could understand, though. He was not as rich and powerful as he had been before, and now involved in a lawsuit. Besides, many people who lived abroad had a superiority complex. During the rest of the drive, he didn't say anything else. Brenner Haley had been looking at her phone the whole time. Her assistant, who was sitting next to Isaac, was looking out of the window, motionless. Isaac grew increasingly uneasy, especially when the car reached the outskirts of Lukesville. He tried to recall restaurants in the area, but there didn't seem to be anything good around here.
"May I ask where we're going for a meal?"
Isaac broke the silence in the car once again. "What? Are you afraid that we will sell you?" Brenner Haley, who was sitting in the front, had finally said something but didn't turn around and continued to play with her phone. "Or is it because Mr. Davidson has done too many immoral things and is scared of retribution?" The expression on Isaac's handsome face changed slightly. He finally realized that his intuition was right.
"If you have an objection against my person, you can stop the car. I will still work with you on the handover of Magma Group."
"Only a few words and Mr. Davidson is unhappy," the woman said as she gave a low laugh. "That's to be expected. Since snatching someone else's company, you've grown used to getting everything you want. How can you tolerate an insult like this?"
"Stop the car,"
Isaac ordered coldly. Not only did the chauffeur show no intention to stop, but he drove into a small road on the side. Isaac understood at this moment the other party had more in mind than a simple meal. He instinctively reached to open the door, but the assistant who had been silent beside him suddenly grabbed his arm deftly.
Let go!
Isaac sent a punch in his direction. The assistant dodged it quickly and used his leg to kick Isaac's stomach before quickly holding Isaac down on the chair.
What do you want?
Isaac roared in anger. From the exchange just now, he clearly understood this person beside him knew martial arts and was very good at it. This was a trap, which was why Brenner Haley did not sit in the back. As for Clark, who was following behind and made no movements, he must be under the control of the people in his car.
Who in the world are you people? I don't think I've offended you all.
Looks like you've done too many immoral things. You don't even know whom you've offended. Brenner Haley took out a lady's cigarette from a golden cigarette box, lit it, and inhaled lightly before leisurely exhaling. Isaac stared at her side profile with wide eyes. From this angle, the woman's feature looked exotic and beautiful, and also slightly familiar, but he couldn't put his finger on it. You are Mira's son, aren't you? A woman like your mother doesn't give birth to any decent person, Brenner Haley said lightly.
Shut up! Better watch what you're saying,
Isaac warned fiercely. He struggled to get up, but his whole person was pushed down so firmly that he couldn't budge. Watch what I'm saying? The woman snorted lightly. Suddenly she said, Stop the car. The car stopped immediately. He didn't know where they were. It was a deserted piece of land surrounded by overgrown grass. The assistant dragged Isaac down from the car. Isaac got up and wanted to run, but the chauffeur and assistant pressed him down again. His face was pressed against the ground, and all he could inhale was dust. He had never been more pathetic in his whole life. He was so angry that his veins were popping.
I'll not let you off. This is Lukesville, and you outsiders won't get to do as you please.
Who is the one doing as he pleases? Brenner Haley walked to stand in front of him and looked down on him, her tone cold. Raise your head and look at me. Isaac struggled to raise his head and meet the woman's sharp look. Brenner Haley stared at him and smiled. You spent so much effort to intercept what I'd sent to my daughter and forge letters to reply to me, causing my daughter and me to miss each other for many years. Now that I'm standing in front of you, you really don't recognize me at all? Isaac jerked. The look in his eyes gradually turned into shock and disbelief.
You are Melissa?
His head buzzed. He remembered when gifts from April's mother were received. He asked people to investigate. He only knew the other person was from Luxembourg's Morrison clan. Then he investigated April's mother's name. It was Melissa. No, that's wrong. Melissa's name overseas is not Brenner Haley. You should have investigated more thoroughly. Brenner Haley is the name I use in North Europe. Melissa's eyes gradually turned cold as ice. My daughter is indeed the same as me. We both have terrible taste when we were young. Look at you. Other than a passable face, you have no other merits. Isaac distinctively dug his fingers into the dirt on the ground. He lowered his head slowly. He knew that he did many things that hurt April, but he still loved her. Maybe he was scared if she found her family and her family looked down on him like this, he would not be able to have her anymore. That was why he made mistakes, one after another. You dare me to do it, but you don't dare to raise your head and look at me? Melissa was full of sarcasm. Whatever feud you have with Kenneth, I don't care. But you used such a despicable method to snatch away April's company. She was still a young lady, but you drove her to a wall, and she couldn't even stay in Lukesville anymore. She was just a girl. Imagine what kind of life she led after that. You have parents too. You knew that she didn't have a mom since she was a child, yet you created misunderstandings between mother and daughter. I've met countless people in my lifetime, yet you're the worst scum I've seen. Isaac's eyes welled up suddenly, perhaps because of the dust or some other reason. He didn't want to drive her so far, But he didn't expect Rosaria to do so many hurtful things to April behind his back. But no matter what, it was his own foolishness that gave Rosaria the opening. He had nothing to defend himself with. "You're not going to try to explain yourself?" Melissa asked coldly.
Everything you said is right. I am scum,
Isaac admitted, his tone self-deprecating.
But all of this was because of Kenneth.
Don't look for excuses for your own selfishness. Kenneth might not have been very good, but he is at least better than you. You don't have a baseline at all. Melissa got angrier and angrier because of his excuse. She came forward and stepped down on the back of his hand with her heel. The flesh sunk in, and it was so painful that his body shook. But he didn't utter a word. No matter how painful it was, it hurt less than his heart. What did April ever do wrong? You cheated her feelings, snatched away her company, and even caused her to quit school. Did the Eisenberg family kill your whole family, or did Kenneth rape your mother?
Shut up.
Isaac's eyes shot up suddenly, like a lion who had his tail stepped on. Melissa was momentarily taken aback. Then she smiled. I guess that's right. Mira is shameless. She probably didn't need Kenneth to rape her. She would be quite happy to oblige.
I forbid you from insulting my mother.
Isaac roared in rage. His whole body trembled with anger. He struggled to get up, but he couldn't move while being held down. How did I insult her? Melissa laughed coldly. That's not right. You're even older than April. Are you Mira's biological son?
Of course I am,
Isaac said angrily. It's okay that you don't want to tell me, but I can tell that you're a few years older than April, meaning that Mira already had a child when she was with Kenneth. Am I right? Melissa gave a bigger, sarcastic smile, crossed her arms, and continued. Kenneth is so stupid. He liked Mira so much. He treated her like a treasure. Yet, she was already a mother when he was with her. As I thought, Mira is a slut.
Watch your mouth.
Isaac was beyond tolerance.
You can abuse me, but not her. She suffered enough because of Kenneth.
I was wondering why Kenneth didn't marry your mother after we divorced. Doesn't he like screwing around with his students? Melissa squatted, bent over to look at Isaac, and continued. Did he abandon her because he found out about her illegitimate child? Is that why you hurt my daughter? Did you do that in revenge for your mother?
I don't know what you're talking about.
For a few seconds, Isaac's dark eyes showed confusion.
My mother doesn't like Kenneth at all.
Did she tell you that? Melissa snorted. That is the most hilarious joke I've heard in this century. Back then, Mira pursued Kenneth shamelessly, using all sorts of means. She sewed his clothes, stayed up to do research projects with him, took care of him attentively. They've spent many sleepless nights together. Kenneth even took her on business trips. Mira sent me intimate photos of her and Kenneth. They often showed up together. At that time, everyone knew that they were having an affair. Do you know why I divorced Kenneth? I was so disgusted by these two.
That's impossible.
Isaac shook his head and murmured. He couldn't stop shaking his head and mumbling to himself, as if his brain couldn't deal with this sudden and strong stimulation. Melissa spent a second staring at him, then slowly stood up and said, Isaac, I am going to take everything you have away from you. But you were in haste to sell the company. I didn't want my daughter's company to fall into someone else's hands, so I had no other choice but to buy it from you. However, I will not let you get away with this. I'll play the games with you. Slowly, I'll give all the pain that April has suffered back to you. After saying that, she took a few steps backward, gave an eye signal to the two people by her side. Do it, she said. The chauffeur and the assistant kicked Isaac violently from both sides. Isaac didn't even try to fight back, but curled up, buried his head in his arms, and let the heavy kicks land on his body like raindrops. A while later, the two men got bored. They lifted Isaac up and punched him as if they were punching a sandbag. Soon, Isaac's eyes blackened and his nose bled. His mouth was filled with blood. At last, he fell to the ground without being able to struggle back up. Seeing him in this awful shape, Melissa showed disgust on her delicate face. "Do you feel pain? April suffered worse than this. This is only the beginning. I haven't come back for 20 years. So this time, I'll make both you and Mira pay for what you've done." I heard that she's living in a nursing home now. How ridiculous. How can such a bitch live peacefully in a nursing home? Can she even manage to stay there? Why doesn't she live in a temple? Finished talking, she opened the car door, turned, and prepared to get into the car. Isaac struggled to raise his upper body and stuttered.
"I did everything that hurt April alone. It has nothing to do with her. If you want revenge, take it out on me."
"That's right. You hurt April badly, and your mother destroyed my family. Although I don't blame her. Men who can be stolen away are not good ones. I just feel that she takes me too lightly. If it wasn't that I needed to look after my kid and was also pregnant, I wouldn't have let her do as she pleased. Although I had neither power nor authority, no one dared to bully me either. She was the first. I've not remembered this for 20 years. Till now." Melissa closed the door once she was done speaking. The chauffeur and assistant got into the car after her. The tires skidded against the ground and the car left quickly, leaving a cloud of dust behind. Isaac laid on the floor with some liquid dripping down from inside his nose. He was in pain. His whole body was in pain. Even his internal organs were hurting. In his whole life, this was the first time he had been injured so bad. But the physical pain was still less than the pain in his heart. If this pain could make up for the hurt he had caused April, he was willing to be injured even more. Melissa was April's mother, so he would never retaliate against her. He only hated Kenneth. But from Melissa's speech, did his mother destroy their family once? Was his mother really someone like that? He didn't know what to think. Melissa and Kenneth were divorced a long time ago. She wouldn't say this for no reason. Had he been fooled by Mira all this time? No, that couldn't be. He couldn't accept that his own mother had lied to him. At this moment, a car suddenly pulled over. Clark opened the door and hurriedly came to help him.
"How are you? I suspected something was wrong earlier, but I was held captive by the people in my car. It was only till they left just now that I could drive over. Are your injuries heavy? I'll call the police and the ambulance for you now." Don't call the police."
Isaac hurriedly grabbed his hand.
"This gang of people are lawless, tricking you here in the middle of the day to beat you up. Who is that woman?"
Clark was also bemused. That person didn't seem to be sent by Aaron.
"She is April's mother."
Isaac smiled bitterly. Clark was so shocked that his mouth dropped open.
Can't be right. So wrong."
Isaac nodded and said weakly,
"I only know that she belongs to the Morrison clan, so I don't know much. Her having people to beat me up is what I deserve. She's right. This pain is nothing compared to what April suffered."
Clark went silent for a moment. He wasn't sure what to say either. In the end, he could only help Isaac up.
"I'll send you to the hospital now."
On the way to the city, Melissa received Jeffrey's call.
"How badly did you beat up that bastard Isaac? He won't be able to get up for half a month,"
Melissa said nonchalantly.
"That's no fun."
Jeffrey snorted coldly.
"If it were up to me, I would turn people like him into beggars. You are more useless the older you are."
Melissa's face turned black. Who do you think you're talking to? Do you think this is what I want? If I had more time, I definitely would have made sure that Isaac was chased out like a dog. Only he is selling his company shares hurriedly, so I can't do anything else to him. However, I plan to deal with Mira, too.
Aren't you avenging yourself because she stole your man in the past?
Jeffrey couldn't resist making a dig at her. Melissa laughed. You better watch your mouth. Even mentioning that old fool Kenneth makes me want to vomit.
Then when do you intend to claim my sister?
Jeffrey asked suddenly. Melissa immediately fell silent, her face showing deep guilt. She did want to see April. She hadn't seen her daughter in 20 years. However, she felt nervous and ashamed. She was afraid that her daughter might disown her because she had failed in her duty as a mother. She also didn't know how many bad words about her that Kenneth had said to her daughter during the past 20 years.
All right, wait for me to come back. My exams are ending soon. I'll fly back right afterward.
Jeffrey ended the call. Melissa stayed in a daze for a while, then found April's picture that she saved on her phone. She had found the photo online. In the photo, she lowered her head, standing on stage helplessly. Someone took the photo of her at the last Christmas when she was being bullied. Melissa regretted not paying attention to the domestic news. Her daughter had suffered so much bitterness, and she hadn't even known. Looking at that photo, she couldn't help but feel terrible. There were dark circles under her eyes. She had to find her and give her all the best in the world. Park Regis Hotel. That was the most expensive hotel in the city. The garden suite cost 40,000 yuan per night. Aaron believed that April had to live in the best hotel and eat the best food because she was pregnant. So he booked a suite. Downstairs, April was looking at her phone in the garden. The first trial of Kenneth's case had caused a sensation and lots of discussion. Currently, the media had taken Kenneth's side. People made posts to accuse, even abuse Isaac. Some media outlets even dug out all the properties that Isaac had owned in the past 2 years. Reading those articles, April was really shocked. While she was reading an article with great interest, a stripe of shadow shrouded her. In the next second, her phone was whisked away. Aaron was standing in front of her. He stayed in Lukesville these days. He dressed casually, a pair of gray cropped trousers with a green t-shirt. He looked so refreshing and handsome that April was even dazed slightly.
I know that I'm good looking, but please don't stare at me.
Aaron sat down in the cane chair near her, smiled, and crossed his legs. His exposed calves looked slim and delicate. No, I just felt that you look young. April blinked and responded with an innocent tone. The smile froze on Aaron's face, as he didn't know how to reply. What did she mean by he looked young? Had he looked old before? Give me my phone. April reached out a hand toward him.
Don't always spend time on your phone. It emits radiation.
Aaron lazily leaned against the back of the tall chair.
My precious daughter will feel uncomfortable in your belly.
April rubbed her ears, feeling that Aaron was getting more and more preachy lately. I'm wearing that anti-radiation suit. You bought this from abroad. It cost over 100,000. It said that it can even protect against nuclear radiation.
Still, you can't overly rely on it.
Aaron lowered his head, trying to find out what she had been reading. However, the screen of her phone had gone black. He tabbed the screen, found that it required a password to unlock her phone. He typed in his own birthday, but that turned out to be wrong. After that, he raised his head and said unhappily,
Isn't your password my birthday?
April didn't know what to say.
That was perfectly reasonable.
If he didn't mention his birthday to her before, she wouldn't even know his birth date. Even if she did know, she wouldn't use his birthday as her password because she felt that that was unnecessary. So as he asked that question and made it sound so reasonable, April felt speechless. Like your password is my birthday, she said, incredulous.
Although it isn't your birthday, it's the first day we met.
Aaron was so happy with himself that he was grinning. April paused. You still remember it?
Of course.
Aaron raised his chin proudly.
The day that you finished nursing was the day that you signed a contract with Derek. I asked Derek to find that contract for me, so I know the day we met.
April was touched at first. She thought he could remember such little details, but in the end he had needed to look for some contract.
You can't blame me.
Aaron saw through her thoughts and added,
Who asked you to be ugly and dowdy back then? You practically made people not want to take a second look after the first. Too much of a shock of the eyes.
All right, give me the phone. April didn't want to talk about those times.
Come over and change your passcode to my birthday.
Aaron hooked his finger. April was finding him increasingly annoying recently. Can't you see that I'm a pregnant lady, and yet you still asked me to come over?
I wanted to offer my leg for you to sit.
Aaron placed one of his legs down. Recently, April noticed he frequently liked to pull her onto his thigh to sit. She wasn't very willing. The main reason was that sometimes
To beggars. You are more useless the older you are.
when the two of them got too close, she could feel some activity from down below. I don't want to sit.
Then do you want me to carry you?
Aaron's eyes narrowed. April pouted and walked over to sit on his thigh. Aaron circled his arms around her from below her arms.
Change it.
April unlocked her phone using her fingerprint. Aaron saw at once what content she was looking at. Only after April had changed her passcode to his birthday did he say,
You're looking at news about Isaac again?
Yes, April nodded. I realized the reporters are really good. They even dug up many things that I didn't know about.
What do you know about him?
Aaron couldn't help being sarcastic after hearing that.
I'm guessing that you probably only know that he is called Isaac and that he is a man, or else you wouldn't be cheated so badly.
His words hit right on the mark, so April pinched his thighs. Aaron could only obediently behave.
For example,
his family used to be rather well off, April said. His father was in the medical equipment sector. However, his father passed away in an accident. The place where he passed was Lukesville. He was killed by a fire that started in a hotel. Aaron frowned. He hadn't much to say about this sort of thing. After all, this way was too painful to lose a loved one. No wonder Isaac's personality is so twisted, April sighed. But isn't it a coincidence his family all came from Lukesville, and his father died in Lukesville? Could it have something to do with my family? The reason why he hates my father so much? I still believe my father, and I believe there must be a misunderstanding somewhere. Aaron tightened his hug.
Stop overthinking. Everything will come to light one day. Alice and her team have locked themselves in their rooms to study the court case, even against Lawyer Mike. They won't lose.
April laid on the curve of his arm quietly. Excuse me for bothering the two of you again. Outside the wooden door, the sound of Alice's soft laughter came suddenly. Aaron stood up to open the wooden door.
I only just praised you. Why did you come over? It's already been 4 days in a blink of an eye and the court is opening again soon.
I heard the news the court session has been temporarily suspended. It's because Isaac is injured and hospitalized, said Alice. Kiera said, It's sad that Isaac is injured and is in the hospital. April replied with surprise. Is he trying to buy time? The more time he has, the greater his chance of winning. His lawyer might use this time to find a breakthrough. Kiera shook her head and said, I don't think so. I've asked around. He seems to really have been injured pretty badly. His face is swollen and his nose is broken. Some of his internal organs are injured as well. Strangely, he didn't call the police. That's even weirder, April sneered. I guess he injured himself. Otherwise, why didn't he call the police? Perhaps he did something bad and offended someone? But I don't think he's that kind of person who will bear an insult like this. Kiera shrugged and said, Anyway, the courthouse has sent people to check on him as well. He can't appear in court like that, indeed. I'm afraid the trial is going to be postponed to the middle of this month. April was visibly upset. The longer we wait, the worse the situation will be for us, right?
Don't worry, there will be a solution.
Aaron put an arm around her shoulders and comforted her.
If he's trying to buy time, it means he's not confident. He can use this time to search for a new breakthrough, and we can also try to collect more evidence.
April nodded affirmatively. Since the trial will not begin for a bit, we should return to Rosewood City. We'll come back before the trial starts, Kiera suggested. Aaron agreed with her. No matter how expensive the hotel suite could be and how expensive the food they provided was, it was not as clean as things at home. So that afternoon, they packed their bags and headed to the airport. The car parked at the entrance. April got out of the car. Before entering the airport, she abruptly glanced back.
What's wrong?
Aaron asked, taking the luggage from the car. Nothing. I felt like someone was watching me. April noticed a black Benz which was parked a couple of yards away.
Ah, you're right. I was watching you just now.
Aaron grinned at her. April snorted and perched on his large suitcase. Aaron wheeled her into the airport. Kiera clicked her tongue and said, "After seeing how nice Mr. Bennett is to April, my requirements for my future boyfriend are going through the roof." Marvin smiled and shook his head.
"You haven't seen how awful he can be,"
he thought. "Even you would want to hit him." Inside the Benz, Melissa quietly watched April disappear from her sight. Her chest heaved slightly. She wanted so badly to rush out of the car to introduce herself to her daughter. But if it happened so suddenly, April might get scared.
"Miss Melissa, Mr. Bennett seems to be really nice to Miss Eisenberg."
Ivan the assistant smiled and added,
"Also, he looks very handsome and manly. Miss Eisenberg has great taste."
"What do you know?" Melissa gave him a sharp glance and said, "It's difficult to see the true face of a man. Before I married Kenneth, he was so nice to me that he nearly gave me his heart. In the end, he fell in love with another woman not long after we got married. My daughter is just like me. She has poor taste in men, so she may get fooled by men easily. Isaac is the perfect example. I was unlucky. Back when I was with Kenneth, I was an orphan. The Heisenberg family people hurt me, and I could do nothing. I can't let what happened to me happen to my daughter."
"But for now, we haven't found any bad things about Mr. Bennett,"
said the assistant.
"You see, he didn't judge Miss Eisenberg because her father was in prison. On the contrary, he even helped Miss Eisenberg with the lawsuit to try to save her father."
"That's what I don't like about him," Melissa snorted coldly. "Kenneth is a bastard. He hurts women. He should spend the rest of his life in prison. Why would they release him? To hurt more young girls?"
"But Mr. Eisenberg could be wrongly accused."
The assistant's voice got softer and softer. "Wrongly accused," Melissa said indifferently. "Why would people accuse him out of nowhere? It's not as if they are crazy, so there must have been a reason. My guess is he got tired of playing around with Mira and abandoned her. She was resentful and asked her son to take revenge on him. If Isaac isn't older than April, I would suspect Isaac is his bastard." The assistant was dazed and thought that she made some sense. "Drive to Eisenberg Group so I can settle some old accounts and finish this early. I want to go to Rosewood City to meet that person. Aaron, Lukesville Hospital." Isaac leaned on the bed silently like a statue. Beside him, Lawyer Mike talked for a while, but he remained silent. Lawyer Mike involuntarily frowned.
"Mr. Davidson, have you heard what I said? I said since you were hospitalized, try to stay longer so that the court delays the court session." "What are the odds of winning this case?"
Isaac asked as he finally regained his senses.
"The most troublesome thing is the recording, but rest assured, as long as you firmly deny it, I'll come up with something."
Just as Lawyer Mike finished, the door slammed open. Mira panically walked in. "Isaac, how are you? You've been injured. Why didn't you tell me about such a big thing? My goodness, who beat you up like this?"
"Leave us first."
Isaac glanced over at the lawyer coolly. Mira caressed his face. His originally handsome face was now bruised all over and his lips were pale. She was angry on his behalf, and her heart ached for him. Her tears fell involuntarily. "Do you really want to worry me to death? Have you called the police? First that court case, and now being hospitalized. Did April find someone to do this? I heard that she is with some rich man."
"Mother, how do you know about me being injured?"
Isaac frowned, staring deeply at her wrinkled face. If possible, he didn't want to suspect her. His mother raised him alone and suffered too much. Mira was taken aback. "Someone sent a message saying that you're hospitalized here, so I rushed over immediately." Isaac's face changed slightly. What's wrong?" Mira became unsettled looking at him.
"Mother, I met April's mother, Melissa."
Isaac saw that Mira's expression had entirely changed when he was finished. Wasn't she missing for a long time?" Isaac's mother blurted out.
"How did you know that she was missing for a long time?"
Isaac asked. Mira blinked. "No, while Kenneth was in jail, a reporter mentioned it. I didn't expect her to be back again." That's good. That's good."
Has she reunited with her daughter? Is that so?
Isaac frowned, watching her closely.
Mother, Auntie Melissa said you once destroyed her family when you were young? What nonsense you're saying?
Mira became angry as if someone stepped on her tail.
I'm your mother. How can you believe Melissa's words? Melissa is not a decent woman, frequently going in and out of nightclubs, not even caring for her own child. Mother, you seem to know her quite well,
Isaac said astutely.
You weren't classmates with her either, right? We weren't classmates, but when I was doing research with Kenneth, she was Kenneth's wife, so we naturally would meet often.
Mira lowered her head, held his hands, and said,
Stop talking about Melissa. Hearing about her and her family can really make me uncomfortable. Tell me about your injury. How many days do you have to stay in the hospital? Who did this to you? Have you called the police? I didn't call the police.
Isaac turned his face away and spoke flatly.
Why not?
Mira said, choked with emotion.
Look how badly you're injured.
Isaac didn't want to say anything. He felt as if part of his heart was missing.
I'm calling the police now,
Mira said as he stayed silent. Mira turned and walked toward the door.
Don't.
Isaac reached out a hand to try to stop her. But as soon as he moved, his wounds hurt so much that he even felt as if his internal organs were falling apart. He couldn't even remain sitting, but fell back on the bed.
You're injured so badly. You mustn't move.
Mira's heart ached so much that she even shed tears.
You know who did this to you, don't you? You just don't want to tell me about it. I did this to myself. It's exactly what I deserve.
Isaac smiled bitterly.
I beg you, don't call the police. I'm still involved in a lawsuit now.
Hearing about the lawsuit, Mira's face paled.
Is there a chance that you might lose? I don't know.
Isaac closed his eyes and said quietly,
Last year, I purchased some properties abroad under your name. If I lose the lawsuit, you should sell those properties and use the money to live.
No! Mira cried.
You're my only son. If you went to prison, my life would be meaningless. Years ago, I told you not to scheme against Kenneth. Why didn't you listen to me? Now what? Saying these things won't change anything.
A deeply pained look flashed across Isaac's fine features. If he had a second chance, he wouldn't do the same. But of course, there's no way back. Mira let go of his hands, then bent over, covered her face, and cried with a dry voice.
This is wrong. I can't let you go to prison. That's your lawyer, right? I'm going to talk to him.
Mira abruptly stood up and quickly walked out.
Mom!
Isaac cried, but he couldn't stop her. He struggled for a little while, then finally lay back down. After spending a while gazing at the ceiling, he struggled to grab his phone from the nightstand, then dialed a number.
Check on my mother's classmates for me. They're all Kenneth's students. Try to find out what the relationship between him and my mother was like.
Haven't we already done that?
The person on the other end of the line replied with confusion.
I want more specific details.
After ending the call, Isaac turned to the window, hoping that what Melissa said wasn't true. If all he knew was fake, he would. He shook his head. He didn't dare to keep imagining. April returned to Rosewood City. The summer vacation had already begun. Winnie wasn't living in the apartment, so she moved to Bennett Villa. Aaron left early in the morning for Splingo. He had stayed in Lukesville for a couple of days, so lots of work had been waiting for him at the company. In the morning, he attended a staff meeting. After he returned to his office, the senior managers visited him in the office, one after another. When Richard got there, it was already about noon.
I haven't had a meal with you for a long time. Shall we? What? Did you miss me? I'm sorry. Ever since I got back together with April, I nearly forgot about you when I'm not at work.
Richard almost died with laughter. Did he ever say that he missed him? He was only inviting him for lunch, and that was all.
I need to talk to you about something,
he said.
Fine then.
Only then did Aaron close his notebook and stand up.
It's all right. You should stop coming. Richard rolled his eyes. Let's go.
Aaron ignored his words and walked over the large strides. Richard could only grudgingly follow him to the canteen. The two rarely went there. When the chef saw them coming, they immediately made a few good dishes to bring over.
Magma Group has announced on its official website, Isaac is discharged from all duties in Magma Group,
Richard said while pouring tea. Aaron raised his brows but was unsurprised.
Oh, right. Soon Magma Group will no longer be called Magma Group.
Richard put down the teapot.
Didn't you ask me to oversee the film sector? I'm now familiar with the ins and outs of the film industry. I heard the one who bought over Magma Group is the Morrison clan.
Aaron bent down to drink his tea.
Morrison? Yes, a steel manufacturing clan that prefers to be low profile, Richard said. But at their peak, they allegedly had 50 clans and over 200,000 employees. But this year, they've been slowly shrinking, though it is still big. So now those who make steel are also entering the film industry. Do they know how?
Aaron mocked.
Not everyone has my talent,
Aaron said coldly. Richard was out of energy to roast him.
Please. The Morrison clan is stronger than your Clark Woodsworth.
What an ignorant fool. Hopefully this person would meet someone from the Morrison clan and would be looked down to death.
Anyways, now that the Morrison clan has taken over Magma Group, they've decided to rename it. I heard it is now called Starlight Films. Starlight?
Aaron was dissatisfied. Originally, he intended to buy over Magma Group and establish Bennett Films. To think, he was extremely dissatisfied with the Morrison clan's people. Don't let them run into him. He finally commented.
Sounds awful. I think it's a nice name.
Richard saw his face change suddenly and hurriedly added,
In any case, this film company is now no longer affiliated with the Magma Group. I think we can tell those from the radio sector to stop harassing Magma Group. After all, we will all be in the same industry, so there's no need to make an enemy, and the Morrison clan has a huge financial prowess. Since their financial prowess is huge, then it won't matter if those movies and dramas from before cannot be screened. Anyways, they have lots of money, they can invest in new ones.
Aaron casually picked up his chopsticks.
You don't have to be so harsh. It's their fault for stealing the company that I wanted to gift to April.
Aaron answered unreasonably. Richard saw how stubborn he was and stopped persuading him. In the villa, after April returned to the city, the holiday started again. Having nothing else to do, she was contemplating on Aaron's birthday gift. He was turning 30 after all, so she could give him something special. But she didn't want to shop by herself and she didn't have many friends, so she called Winnie. Big shot singer Winnie, may I ask when you will return to Rosewood City and shop with me? Are you sure you want to shop with me? Winnie smiled. Although I'm not extremely popular, I do have some fame. If I'm recognized, you will also become a focus. It's all right. Let me borrow some of your limelight, April said jokingly. I feel as if we haven't seen each other for a long time. I miss you. All right. I'm coming back tomorrow. We can go out the day after. April smiled while putting down the phone. Turning around, her nose bumped straight into a hard chest. She raised her head and found Aaron looking down at her with a long face.
Who did you miss?
I was talking to Winnie on the phone, April said and rubbed her nose in pain. Why did you sneak up behind me? Why didn't you call me before you came home?
You two are really close.
Aaron snorted coldly.
You told her that you miss her, but you've never told me the same.
You are mine. Why would I miss you? April gave him a glare, then turned and walked toward the couch. Richard came to her, wagging his tail. April opened up a pack of dried fish to feed him. Aaron curved his lips into a smile, feeling so sweet as if he had eaten some honey. He sat down next to her and put his arms around her.
Say it again, that I'm yours.
You're mine. You are mine. April kissed him on the cheek, then continued feeding Richard.
You're pregnant. Don't be so close to the dog.
Aaron led Richard out of the living room and then closed the screen door to keep him outside. Richard howled and scratched the screen door with his claws. Seeing that, April's heart was softened.
The backyard is large enough for him to play.
Aaron pulled April onto his lap and held her face and kissed her. Under his passionate kiss, April's toes curled. She kept glancing around saying, all right, Derek and Emily are both at home. It would be embarrassing if they came in and saw us.
Okay, we're going to stop kissing.
Aaron stopped kissing her, then held her in his arms, but his hands were all over her. April's face reddened. I'm pregnant. It's normal for my breasts to grow bigger.
Yeah?
Aaron was delighted.
I like them bigger. They feel better than before.
It's not good. I read in a book if the breasts become too big during pregnancy, they might sag after giving birth to the child. If that happened to me, would you stop loving me? Asked April with concern. She was still young. She didn't want something like that to happen to her. Aaron was delighted, though, as he felt that his woman really cared about his feelings.
What can I do? She loves me too much. She's so afraid that I might stop loving her, he said to himself. What should I do? No, I love you, not your breast.
Aaron lowered his head and rubbed her face with his nose. Being rubbed by his nose, April's whole body tingled. It's only about 4. Why are you home so early?
Working is boring.
What's not boring then? April felt a little speechless. Aaron suddenly gazed at her in the eyes and said,
Having sex with you?
You dirty man. April pinched his thigh shyly. She did that pretty hard, yet he responded with,
April, this is so comfortable.
April really admired how thick-skinned and shameless he was. The next day, around 5 in the evening, Winnie tiredly dragged her suitcase out of a nanny van.
Miss Winnie, let me carry your luggage upstairs for you.
Bob, the new assistant that her company had arranged for her, said attentively, It's okay, it's not heavy. I'll get it myself. You've been working hard for a few days. Just go home and rest. Winnie waved at her and then she walked into the building. She took the elevator to her floor. As she came out of the elevator, she heard the noise of the electric drills. She paused briefly, then turned to the left. A door was open, and a few decoration workers had been walking around in the flat. Although Winnie rarely spoke to her neighbors, she bumped into them several times while coming in and out of the building. The household seemed to have bought the flat, and the 3 of them stayed there for many years. Now they were suddenly renovating. Could it be they sold the house and moved out? She held doubts while opening the door to her apartment. She hadn't been back in days, and April wasn't around either. The house was a bit empty. Since Winnie sat on the plane and in the car for many hours, she was tired. She couldn't be bothered to even unpack her luggage before sprawling on the bed to sleep. She slept deeply for an unknown time, but she was woken up by a call from April. Are you back? Yes. So you were sleeping. April could immediately tell from her voice. Shouldn't you be having dinner at this time? Now that you mention it, I am a little hungry, Winnie said. She just didn't feel like cooking, living by herself. There is still some food in the refrigerator. You can make a few simple dishes, April said. If it isn't for Aaron watching over me, I would have been able to come over to accompany you tonight. Don't. It's better that you accompany Mr. Bennett, else he might kill me, Winnie said jokingly. All right, take good care of yourself. April was mainly worried that her thoughts would be running wild when she was alone and bored. She wasn't sure about other people, but since Winnie broke up, she turned into a workaholic, especially since Winnie didn't have her family near. All right. Winnie laid down again after hanging up the phone, but she couldn't help remembering Ben Davos's face and her heart ached. She forced herself to stop thinking and slept for a little while longer. Next door, thumping sounds could be heard once more. She got up and looked at the time. It was already past 6 p.m. Were they crazy? Renovating at such a late hour. Winnie got up gloomily and made 2 simple dishes. The sound from next door got even louder. When she couldn't take the noise anymore, she opened the door to her neighbor's place. When she entered, she was approached by a tall figure, clad in pale blue ripped jeans, yellow and white striped shirt, and white shoes. She looked at his face. The lines of his features were sharp and well-defined. Beneath long slanted brows were a pair of eyes, sharp like the stars in winter. His nose was tall, well-shaped, and his thin, pale lips were very pretty. The light that shone from above his head enclosed his person. He was dazzling to the eyes. Where did this bewitching man come from? Winnie always thought that Ben Davis was very handsome, but the face of the boy in front of her was so perfect that she couldn't pick out a single flaw. In addition, he had a big stature and floutless charisma. The watch with a brown leather strap on his wrist also indicated a prominent family background. Winnie felt this person look familiar. There seemed to be some similarities with April. While Winnie stared at him in a daze, Jeffrey broke the silence first. Only his intonation had a slight roll of the tongue, indicating an unfamiliarity to Mandarin.
Is there an issue?
Winnie shifted her gaze and was shocked to see a hole in the wall beside him. How could you do this to someone else's house?
I bought the whole place.
Jeffrey assessed her. She had raven black hair and a small pretty face. While digging up information on his sister, he remembered his sister was staying with a girl.
Do you stay in 901?
Winnie nodded. I remember both of these units had residents. Did they move out at the same time? Jeffrey said nonchalantly.
This is the best residential area near Langford University. I thought this house had a good position, but the rooms are too small. So I spent some money to buy the adjacent flat from the landlord too.
Winnie was speechless. She guessed that he was some rich man's son. It was really impressive that he purchased 2 connected flats in such an expensive area in Rosewood City. It made it sound like nothing. Some young people are indeed living a luxurious life nowadays, she thought. I never saw you in Langford. Are you a new student? Winnie asked. A pretty boy like this might drive all the girls in the school crazy. Perhaps he would become even more popular than Ryan. Are you studying acting?
Directing.
Jeffrey didn't like talking to strange women. However, as she was his sister's friend, he thought for a moment and then added,
I'm a foreign exchange student.
Winnie finally understood why he had been using so many retroflex consonants while talking.
Are you studying in Langford too?
Jeffrey pretended not to know. Yeah, Winnie nodded. It's okay for you to decorate your flat, but it's late at night now. The loud noise that you're creating is really disturbing your neighbors.
But I need to finish the decorations as soon as possible, so I can move in.
Jeffrey knitted his pretty brows. Still, you can't disturb me. I can't even hear my TV because of the noises you're making. Winnie was really helpless. She finally had a vacation to come home. All she wanted to do was take a good rest. After all, she needed to leave in just a couple of days. Jeffrey knitted his brows even tighter. He had a chiseled face. With that frown, his entire body radiated a sort of coldness that made him seem very hard to get along with. When Winnie thought there would come a fight, he stayed silent for about 10 seconds, then abruptly responded with,
Okay, we won't be working for tonight.
Thank you. Winnie sighed with relief. Fortunately, that rich boy wasn't an unreasonable person. She walked back to her door, then turned and said with a soft voice, Can you please start working at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning? I usually sleep late during vacations.
Do you think that's possible?
Jeffrey gave her a meaningful glance. Winnie disappointingly turned around and went back into her flat. The person next door finally stopped making noise. She fixed herself a bowl of rice and started eating. Eating alone was no fun. After just a couple of bites, she felt full. It would be a waste to dump food, though. At that moment, she heard the doorbell. She went to the door and looked through the peephole before answering the door. The boy next door stood out there asking,
Do you have scissors?
Yeah, Winnie nodded after a short pause. Just wait a minute. After that, she turned to look for the scissors in the TV cabinet. Jeffrey glanced around her apartment. It was smaller than his own flat, but was clean. There were pastoral-style cushions on the chairs and couch. This flat lacked nothing. A dish of steamed spare ribs with rice flour and a dish of stir-fried bitter gourd were placed on the dining table, which was near the door. His sister was surely not here. According to the message from Clark, April had moved in with Aaron long ago. Aaron slept with his sister before marrying her, and April was so easily lured into a 30-year-old man's bed and also let someone take away her family business. He was really worried about his sister. I found them. Winnie turned around, saw the man standing by the door, staring at the food on her table with a cold face. However, that cold look only lingered on his face for a second. Soon it was gone, replaced by his usual bland face, as if what Winnie just saw was only an illusion.
You cook well, and I'm hungry. Can I eat here?
Jeffrey was entering the apartment before she even answered. Winnie was a little stunned and nodded her head after a long while. She couldn't finish the food anyway, so he could have some. They would be classmates in the future. They might as well build an amicable friendship now. Let me get you a bowl of rice. Winnie emerged from the kitchen with a bowl of rice. The white rice was placed in front of Jeffrey, and he looked down at it and up again. His harsh gaze expressed his disapproval.
I'll let it go today, but you shouldn't let strangers into your place in the future, especially when you're alone at home. There are too many bad guys out there.
He felt compelled to remind her since she was April's roommate. It was for April's sake. So she shouldn't have let him in? Winnie thought that she was an easygoing person, but she found it hard to like the man sitting in front of her. He was a good-looking fella, though, she had to admit. As a stranger, why did you invite yourself into the home of a girl that you barely know? Winnie calmly asked him. Do you realize how thick-skinned you are? Winnie thought.
Because I know I'm a good person.
Jeffrey picked up his chopsticks. The dishes looked tasty. Winnie shook her head in exasperation. She lowered her head to concentrate on the food. She had lost her appetite by then, so she put down her utensils after a few bites. She was originally worried that she couldn't finish all the food, but the man opposite her had a voracious appetite. He even finished the entire bowl of steamed pork ribs. Winnie was astonished to watch him eat like that. She noticed his long lashes fluttering under the light. He resembled April quite a bit, even the way he ate, and his appetite. After a bowl of rice, Jeffrey looked up and said,
Do you have more rice?
No more.
Can I finish the rest of the food?
He asked again, his voice as clear as day. Knock yourself out. After finishing all the food, Jeffrey looked up again.
I'm not full yet. I think I have to grab some fried rice later.
Winnie held back her laughter. You resemble my friend when you eat. She's my roommate.
Oh, really?
Jeffrey's cold expression softened and he raised his eyebrows. He looked intrigued.
How so?
She eats as well as you do. Jeffrey thought about it. He did eat his food well. He must have taken after Melissa, just as April did.
Why isn't your roommate back?
She's staying with her boyfriend. Winnie stood up to clear the table. She then felt an eerie aura. Jeffrey grunted and said,
Young girls nowadays really don't know how to love themselves.
Winnie was miffed, but also amused. You look like you're younger than us. I don't think we're young girls anymore. You should address us as your sister.
Uninterested,
he said coldly. All right, go along then. You were here to borrow a pair of scissors, and you scored a free meal too. Winnie handed him a pair of scissors.
I'll return it later.
Jeffrey left with the scissors. Winnie wiped the table and washed the dishes. When she came out, Jeffrey was there to return the scissors.
Thank you,
he said.
I just feel that girls shouldn't move into some man's place without any consideration.
Jeffrey's handsome face growled with a serious expression. Winnie didn't respond, but pushed him out the door and closed it. The next morning, she was awakened by a loud banging. She covered her ears with the quilt, but the noise didn't fade. Not being able to fall asleep again, she got up and freshened up. After breakfast, she called April to make an early appointment with her. Aaron answered the call and said,
April is still sleeping. Please don't disturb her.
I'm sorry.
Winnie got very nervous when hearing Aaron's voice.
Can you please ask her to call me back when she wakes up?
No.
Aaron ended the call. Winnie wanted to cry. What on earth was wrong with those men? At last, she had no choice but to wait. At 10 o'clock, Winnie finally called her. Sorry, I just woke up. I've been really sleepy since I got pregnant.
All right, can you come out now?
Winnie sighed quietly. Sure. They made an appointment. Winnie came out of her apartment, turned, and saw Jeffrey walking out of the apartment next door. He was wearing a pair of black jeans and a white t-shirt tucked in. His legs seemed long and straight, and his body looked so well proportioned. Winnie was angry, but her anger faded when she saw how good he looked. Morning, he greeted her. Winnie glanced at him and said, I treated you for dinner last night. Couldn't you start working later?
No,
Jeffrey responded blandly. Winnie walked into the elevator grumpily. Before the door closed, a slim hand slipped in. and Jeffrey walked into the elevator. Winnie turned slightly away from him. Jeffrey gave her a glance, but said nothing. Once the elevator stopped, he walked out first, and Winnie followed behind him. They both headed toward the apartment gate. Near the gate, Jeffrey abruptly opened the door of his silver Porsche. Winnie only glanced at the car and kept walking toward the gate. Before she walked out of the gate, the Porsche pulled up to her slowly and stopped.
Where are you going? I'll give you a ride to thank you for treating me last night.
If you really want to thank me, please start working later tomorrow morning, Winnie said, stopping. Jeffrey didn't respond, but got out of the car, dragged her to the passenger door, and pushed her into the car. He did it so quickly and smoothly that Winnie didn't realize what was happening until she was already sitting in the car. By then, Jeffrey had gotten back into the car, buckled up, and started the car again.
Today, it's me, so it'll be fine,
he said.
But next time you need to be careful. Don't get into a strange man's car.
The friend of my sister's is really careless. It's a miracle that she hasn't been kidnapped and sold, he thought. I think you forced me in, didn't you? Winnie felt very unhappy. Where is this boy from? Why did his parents let him out? Can't they just lock him up at home? She thought.
Couldn't you fight back?
Jeffrey calmly threw the question back. Winnie was really confused. If the car hadn't been moving, she would have liked very much to have gotten out.
Where are you going?
Jeffrey asked blandly. Winnie told him the name of a shopping mall.
Are you going shopping with your roommate?
Yeah. How did you know? Winnie asked.
I took a guess.
Jeffrey held the steering wheel with one hand and the other rested on the gear shift, looking pretty casual. Winnie opened her mouth to protest, but she held herself back. She wasn't familiar with him, after all. He probably wouldn't listen to her.
Is your friend on good terms with her boyfriend?
Jeffrey asked as she was playing with her phone. Yeah, she is, Winnie answered as she scrolled through her social media account. Her boyfriend is nice and he's super good looking too.
Superficial,
he said with mockery. Winnie was stunned and annoyed. Yeah, I am superficial. What business is that of yours?
Not my business.
The conversation ended there. It was silence in the car for a long while after that. Winnie prayed they would arrive at their destination soon. She didn't want to get a ride from the neighbor again. When they reached the mall, Winnie said a curt, "Thanks," before climbing out of the vehicle. The whole way there, she was frustrated and grumpy. Her mood picked up slightly when she met up with April. You know, we have a new neighbor on our floor. He's doing renovations. April was surprised. Oh, really? I'm not sure about that. I was in Lukesville after the exams. Is it very noisy? They start early in the morning. At 8, Winnie grimaced. Probably a rich man's son. He bought both units on our floor and connected the two apartments. Oh yeah, he's enrolled in our school as well, in film production course. I heard he's an overseas exchange student. He must be pretty good. April smiled. Winnie sighed. I'm not so sure about that, but he is definitely an arrogant and cocky man. He was over for free food and drinks last night, and he was so self-righteous to tell me not to invite a stranger over. I thought he might start his renovation works later today after our meal together, but he didn't even consider that at all. He acts so high and mighty. It's quite annoying. April was amused. Sounds like an annoying man to me, too, since he's made you complain. You are one of the most well-tempered people I know. I was going to move back tonight, but forget it. I don't think I'll go back. You're pregnant. Don't come over. It's too noisy, Winnie complained. I don't think Ryan will be Prince Charming in school in the upcoming semester. Oh? April raised her brows. Our neighbor is even better looking than Ryan? Why are you so clever? Winnie smiled. He is really handsome. Like a little vixen. Oh yeah, and he resembles you quite a bit. Especially the way you eat. Wow, I was amazed at his appetite. Enough! Stop teasing me. My appetite is not the same. I want to vomit every time I eat now. April felt sick thinking about how much she threw up from her previous meal. Hasn't it been 3 months already? Maybe I'm just more sensitive. April shrugged. You said you were going to buy Mr. Bennett a birthday gift. What are you planning to get? Winnie was walking around the mall with her. Not sure. Do you have any ideas? April said, looking around. It was tacky to buy him shoes or clothes. Watches were too expensive and he wouldn't like the cheap ones. He will probably be happiest if you are the present, Winnie blurted out. April was tickled. I am already his. I'm talking about dressing up in a sexy way and presenting yourself to him as a present. Winnie gestured suggestively. You can find a large box and put it in the room. You can hide in the box when he takes a shower. When he opens the box, you can be dressed skimpily laying there and he will be thrilled. April found herself really admiring Winnie. She was such an innocent-looking girl. But why did she have so many weird thoughts in her head? Seriously, April was now a woman who regularly wanted to have sex with a man. But still, she wasn't as open-minded as Winnie. April carefully pictured that scene and found it surprising enough. Aaron would be so happy. Her face reddened and her heart raced. I suddenly feel that your future boyfriend is a really lucky guy. April coiled her arm into Winnie's arms, saying, You'll give him all kinds of delightful surprises, and your life will always be fun. Winnie coughed shyly, responded with, I was trying so hard to come up with a solution to your problem. Is it appropriate for you to tease me for that? I broke up with my boyfriend not long ago. It's not appropriate at all. April didn't want to remind her of those bad things, so she hurriedly changed the topic. That is a good idea, but I'm pregnant. You can have sex after the first 3 months, can't you? Winnie interrupted her without thinking. As long as you don't do it too intensely. April blushed, saying, Winnie, you really know everything. Still, water runs deep. That's how people describe people like you. Well, anyone who has read many romantic novels knows these things. Winnie felt a little shy. Based on how horny Mr. Bennett is, I don't believe that you guys haven't. All right, let's stop here. April couldn't bear continuing the conversation. Ever since that time when she and Aaron had sex on the dinner table, she never had the heart to talk to Winnie about these things. The shopping mall was huge. They spent over an hour making just one circle around it. April had her eyes on some clothes. She wanted to buy them, but realized that her belly would grow larger and larger, and soon she wouldn't be able to wear nothing but loose-fitting clothes and maternity pants. Just buy them if you like them. Mr. Bennett is rich anyway, said Winnie. He's rich indeed, but still, we can't just waste money. Never mind, I'll just look for sportswear. So, are you here to shop for clothes for yourself or to buy gifts for Mr. Bennett? Winnie asked her. April blinked and said, I almost forgot about that. I haven't come out to shop for such a long time. My eyes were dazzled when I saw those pretty clothes. Winnie didn't know what to say. Let's go and get some spicy food. I need some flavor in my mouth, April suggested. There's an old saying in my town, sour boy and spicy girl. I'm afraid that you're going to have a daughter, said Winnie. April smiled and glanced at her. She replied, Tell Aaron that. He'd be thrilled. While chatting, they stepped onto the escalator. Before reaching the top, a woman in black suddenly raised a vacuum cup and threw a cup of hot water at Winnie. Winnie was still on the escalator. The attack happened too quickly. They didn't dare to move forward or backward, but could only raise their bags to cover their faces. But still, boiling hot water splashed on their hands and bodies. Only a small amount of water was poured on April, so she suffered less pain and reacted quicker than Winnie. The escalator was sending them to the top, and that woman stayed before the escalator, seemed to push them down. April didn't worry about herself, however, she was pregnant. Because of the urgent situation, she lunged forward and bumped into the woman. That woman gripped her hair. April pushed her slightly away from the escalator, and then they started fighting. April came up and saw that woman's face clearly. She was surprised because that woman was none other than Esma. Esma was different from the way she usually was. She used to dress up in pretty clothes and elaborate makeup, carrying a brand name bag. Now her hair was a mess, and there were bruises on her neck. Her neck had obvious strangulation marks, and her arms were battered with injuries too. April took a long while to recognize her. Winnie was skinny, and Esma pushed her forcefully against the railing. Her hips hit the metal bar, and she winced in pain. Esma was starting to pounce on April after Winnie was out of the way. April, you wretch! You've done this to me! April was pregnant, and she didn't want to fight her, so she turned to run away. Esma grabbed a hold of her hair and raised her hand to slap her. April grabbed her hands and refused to let go. Esma used the other hand that was grabbing her hair to hit April's head repeatedly. She yelled at her, "Do you think that I'm afraid of you because you've got Aaron? I'm going to kill you, you bitch! You stole my daughter's man, and now you turn me into this! See what I will do to you!" She was getting more and more agitated, so she started choking April's neck. She pushed April backward until April was against the cupboard. Just as Winnie was about to go forward and pull Esma away, a man dressed in white stepped forward and pulled Esma aside. She was thrown onto the floor. April was gasping for air as he rubbed her neck. She was dizzy and her face was red. Esma picked herself up and tried to charge toward April again, but the big man grabbed both her hands and tugged her forcefully until a loud crack was heard. Esma was screaming in pain now. "April, are you okay?" Winnie went forward to support April. Her face was stricken with terror. "Are you feeling well? Do you need to go to the hospital?" April waved her hand to tell her that she was fine. Esma had hit her head and it was hurting a bit and buzzing. "I'll call the hospital immediately." Winnie felt for her phone and she realized that she had dropped it in the scuffle. Just as she was about to pick it up, the man in white bent over and picked up her bag and threw it towards her. "Thanks," Winnie said as she looked up at the man. She paused when she saw his face clearly. "It's you." She didn't think that it would be the neighbor that gave her a ride. His expression was grim and dark now. Jeffrey ignored her and walked straight to April. He quickly carried her in his arms. April was shocked by his gesture, and when she looked up and saw him, she was stunned. She used to think that Aaron was very handsome, but this man in front of her? No, he was more like a boy. His visual aesthetic was shocking. He had the perfect nose bridge, pink and luscious lips, and bright big eyes with a tinge of exoticness. His face was flawless. Where did he come from? Why did he look so familiar? Had she met him before? She couldn't pinpoint where she knew him from.
Who fought here?"
Two security officers approached them, and they were shocked to see Esma wailing in pain on the floor. "That crazy woman attacked us. Bring her to the police station," Winnie hurriedly said. "They broke my arm." Esma struggled up from the ground and cried, "You need to uphold justice. I am a VIP customer. I spend over $10 million a year in your place. You attacked them first. We saw it." Another customer who witnessed the whole thing pointed at Esma. "Please call the police for us. We won't let her get away with it so easily," said April. After she said that, Jeffrey carried her toward the escalator. "Put me down." April struggled. That man was super handsome, but still, she couldn't accept being carried by any man but Aaron.
"We're on the escalator. Don't move. I'm taking you to the hospital."
Jeffrey glanced at her with a cold warning, then stepped onto the escalator, walking down. April was frightened. They were on an escalator, and she was pregnant. She didn't dare to move, but gripped his arms tight. Behind them, Winnie hurriedly followed. Jeffrey moved too fast. She needed to make 2 steps to catch up with every step he made. So at last, she started running. Finally, she caught up with him, saw him carrying April. His pretty face was nervous and serious, as if it was he himself who had been injured. Winnie couldn't help but wonder how angry the extremely jealous Mr. Bennett would be if he saw this. April is really charming, though. She sees Mr. Bennett, who's older than her, and now a young man fell for her as well, she thought. Jeffrey carried April directly to a sports car. Winnie hurriedly climbed into the back seat. Before she had even closed the car door, it started moving like a gust of wind. She grabbed the railing in the car, closed the door, and then couldn't help but scream. "Can't you at least wait until I close the door?" Jeffrey blandly glanced at her and said,
"I'm sorry. I forgot that someone was in the back seat."
Winnie didn't know what to say. She put a hand on her chest, feeling her heart pounding. She followed closely behind him and created quite some noises. Yet she was actually neglected. She had met him yesterday, and he even ate the food that she made. But now, he was completely ignoring her. The world was really ruled by pretty people. But she was not ugly, was she? She and April were in 2 completely different styles, though. Were comely people out of date already? Was the world ruled by delicate and charming girls like April now? No wonder Ben Davos had been cold with her too. But now wasn't the time for her to recall the past. She came back to her senses and asked April, who was in the front seat. "April, you're not feeling uncomfortable, are you?" "No, but earlier my belly bumped into something." April put a hand on her belly with concern. Winnie immediately wore a serious look. If the baby was hurt, Mr. Bennet would eat her alive. After all, she and April had been shopping together. Thinking of Mr. Bennet's scary-looking face, Winnie gathered some courage and said, "I'll call Mr. Bennet." April didn't try to stop her. Winnie quickly dialed Aaron's number.
"I know what you're going to say. I'm in the parking lot. I'm coming."
A couple of minutes earlier, Aaron had got a call from the people who were responsible for April's safety. He was so angry at those men. Since April was attacked by Rosaria, he had hired people to follow April and protect her secretly. However, those two stupid men were too far away from her to stop what had happened. That was how Esma found the opportunity to attack her. Winnie was surprised. How did he find out so quickly?
"I can't reach April. Is she all right?"
April was hit a few times by Esma. "We're on our way to the hospital." Aaron sounded cold over the phone.
"Which hospital?"
Although he wasn't on the loudspeaker, April could hear him shouting over the phone, and she turned to ask Jeffrey, "Which hospital are we going to?"
"I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with the area. Can you lead the way?"
Jeffrey replied coldly. April was speechless. He didn't even know where the hospital was, and he drove off blindly. "Tell Aaron that we're headed to the City Health Hospital." It was close by, and they reached it within 5 minutes. Just as April was about to climb out of the car, Jeffrey rushed to her door to carry her again. "I can walk by myself," April said awkwardly. She thought he was acting strange, but she wasn't repelled by this boy. She felt a sense of familiarity around him. She might have been a little uncomfortable with other men hugging her like this, even if they had just saved her life.
"No. What if you have a concussion? Don't move around."
Jeffrey carried her straight to the emergency department. The hospital thought she was a critically ill patient, so they wheeled over a bed. Jeffrey placed her gently on the bed, and she felt a little guilty. She wasn't seriously injured, and she felt bad for taking up precious hospital resources. The nurse on shift quickly came over and registered them on the logbook. "What is the condition of the patient?"
"She was beaten up by someone,"
Jeffrey answered coldly. The nurse was visibly taken aback and looked up at him. She paused when she saw his face, but still replied professionally. "Where was she hit?"
"The head. She was strangled as well,"
Jeffrey said. Winnie quickly added, "She's also 3 months pregnant. You should check on the fetus." Jeffrey turned to glare at her immediately. He looked like he had just received a huge blow, and he looked furious. Winnie didn't know what to say. She wondered if he had fallen in love with April at first sight. Was that why he was upset when he found out that April was already pregnant? That didn't take him long, did it? Young people these days. April didn't notice Jeffrey's reaction. She was more concerned about her baby. After the nurse heard that she was pregnant, she also got more anxious. She quickly ordered someone to push April into the radiology room for an ultrasound scan and took her blood pressure and some blood tests. Jeffrey and Winnie were waiting outside along the corridor. He was pacing up and down the hallway when he suddenly kicked the wall forcefully and let out a loud yell. Winnie jumped and cleared her throat. "Tell me the truth. Are you April's secret admirer? Is that why you moved in next to us?" It wasn't likely that he fell in love at first sight, given his dramatic reaction now. This was the only other explanation Winnie could come up with.
"Don't talk to me. I'm in a terrible mood."
Jeffrey's delicate face was bright red with anger. The corner of Winnie's mouth twitched. She didn't want to talk to him anyway, so she walked over to a corner to wait for April quietly by herself. After 5 minutes, April appeared with an ultrasound report. Jeffrey stood still against the wall with his arms crossed in front of his chest. Winnie asked anxiously, "How's the baby?" "The doctor told me to follow up with the obstetrician with this report." April fished out the report. Before Winnie could have a look at it, Jeffrey had already snatched it away. He stared at the ultrasound report. All he could make out was the word pregnant, and he couldn't understand anything else. His eyes popped. He wanted to kill Aaron. His sister was with a lousy man when he found her. And even worse, she was already pregnant with that man's child. He was so angry. Winnie leaned toward April and whispered to her, "The That's our new neighbor. I think that he might be in secret love with you, so he moved next door to us. Look at him. He's so jealous. April didn't know what to say. How did you manage to make both older and younger men fall for you? Winnie continued. Older and younger? April's mouth corners twitched. Was Aaron the older man? Was the young man in front of her the younger one? Thank you for saving me and my baby, said April sincerely. My boyfriend is on his way here. You can leave now. Thank you for your help.
He's only your boyfriend and you're already pregnant?
Jeffrey flicked the ultrasonic B report in his hand, saying,
You're 3 months pregnant already. You haven't even finished school yet. How old are you?
Hearing his words, April's cheeks burned. She would argue with him if he was someone else, but facing that young man, she somehow couldn't say a word. Winnie glared at him and said, I've been feeling that you're way out of line since last night. What's your problem? What April does has nothing to do with you.
Before, she had nothing to do with me. Doesn't mean that she'll never have anything to do with me in the future.
Jeffrey sounded very flat. April's eyes were the size of saucers. Winnie was also surprised by his tone. That sounded so inappropriate. April was pregnant, yet he still wanted her? Winnie regretted letting him come into her flat for dinner last night. Also, why had April been so quiet today? What was wrong with her? Jeffrey made a few steps forward, then turned back and said,
Let's go and see a gynecologist.
April knew what he was going to do. She automatically moved backward to dodge, but still ended up being lifted by Jeffrey. I can walk, she said. She felt very awkward.
If the baby's already hurt, you walking will only hurt it even more badly.
Jeffrey walked toward the gynecology department, which was located in another building, with big strides. Aaron hurriedly drove to the hospital and parked his car. He took out his phone, preparing to call Winnie and ask her where they were. But before he could dial, he glanced around and found Winnie following behind a man. That man was carrying a woman, whom he could always recognize. She slept by his side every single night and often sat on his lap. Why on earth was she in some boy's arms? Aaron wanted very much to punch him, but then realized that April was now pregnant with his child, so she might not cheat on him so openly. He guessed that she was injured pretty badly. He walked over to the three, blocked the way, and asked with a serious look,
April, is something happening to the baby?
Aaron, no? As he suddenly showed up, April was stunned, and then her heart sank. This is bad, she thought. She was in a man's arms. He was still a student, but Aaron always hated any male creature around her, and that man was showing no sign of putting her down.
Are your legs hurt?
Aaron fixed his eyes on her legs. No. Hearing that, Aaron exploded with jealousy.
If the baby is fine and your legs are unharmed, why do you let a man carry you?
She looked weak and vulnerable in that man's arms. She was never so quiet in his own arms. If he didn't know that she was injured by asthma just now, he would have dragged her off and then killed that pretty boy. This chap was even better looking than Ryan. Aaron's hair stood on their ends. He walked forward and extended his hand towards Jeffrey.
Thank you for saving my wife. You should return her to me now.
Wife? Jeffrey raised his eyebrows.
You two are not married yet. Correct me if I'm wrong.
He didn't like Aaron from the get-go. The first thing he asked when he arrived was whether the baby was all right. He didn't ask about April's injuries. Neither did he notice the patch of redness on her neck.
We're going to get married sooner or later.
They even had a baby together. Wasn't marriage already set in stone? Jeffrey cleared his throat.
As if her family had already given you their blessings.
Aaron wanted to murder him.
This is between both of us, isn't it? Who are you anyway? Do I need to explain myself to you? Hand her over to me now, or put her down. Don't blame me if I lose my temper. I'm not comfortable with letting someone else hold her.
Jeffrey replied him casually. Aaron was about to explode. Where did this lunatic come from? Someone else? Was he just someone else? April had no strength to protest. She couldn't bring herself to detest Jeffrey. She took a certain liking to him. She knew that Aaron would probably fly into rage if this went on, though. If it was him in the past, he would have hit Jeffrey already. Aaron, you carry me. April reached out for him. Aaron looked appeased. Just as he was going to carry her over, Jeffrey walked towards the emergency department, going around Aaron. When he saw that Aaron's face had turned ashen gray, Just before he blew his top, she reminded him, "Mr. Bennett, the doctor warned us that April might be unstable right now, and her baby might be in danger. You need to calm down." Aaron calmed down immediately. He was extremely worried on the way there. He was scared that his little princess would be lost. It was an ordeal for him to finally get a baby girl at 30 years old. He nearly forgot about his worries when he saw Jeffrey. He turned and chased after Jeffrey. He wanted to beat Jeffrey up and snatch April from him, but he was worried that he might hurt April and the baby in the process of doing so. He had to swallow his anger and tolerate him for now. It was never too late for revenge anyway. When April completed her examination, he would break the chap's arms. How dare he act so cockily in front of him? He must teach the guy a lesson. At the obstetrics clinic, men were not allowed to enter. Winnie was the only one allowed to accompany April to see the doctor. When April reached the door, she turned to Jeffrey. "Thank you. You can head back now." After pausing for a while, she turned and said to Aaron, "Don't fight while I'm gone." He was annoyed. She was siding with this gigolo. "I won't," he replied in a low voice. April and Winnie entered the doctor's office. There was a patient before them, and Winnie whispered in April's ear while waiting. "What's going on? Are you soft-hearted because of how handsome that man is? I have to remind you that you are carrying Mr. Bennett's child. Don't have a change of heart at this juncture." April was speechless. "Am I that kind of person?" "You never know." Winnie shook her head. "That man is awfully good-looking. When he stood next to Mr. Bennett just now, it accentuated his wild and young charisma next to Mr. Bennett's mature and manly vibe. They each have their charms." April wondered if Aaron would beat her to death if she said what she said in front of him. "No, I just feel that he's rather friendly." April told the truth. "It's strange. No matter what he does, I wouldn't be mad. And didn't you find him extra cute when he was trying to pull a long face?" Winnie shivered and replied, "Were you talking about Mr. Bennett?" "No." April shook her head. "I've often wanted to kill Aaron with my slipper." Winnie was speechless. How sad would Mr. Bennett be if he heard that? "April, is it because that boy looks similar to you?" Winnie said. April paused briefly, saying, "We do look a little similar. If only he was my brother." Thinking about her younger brother, she sighed. "Please," Winnie hurriedly responded with, "You're such a nice person. You wouldn't have such an annoying brother." April smiled. At that moment, the doctor waved a hand toward her and asked, "What is wrong?" April handed him the B ultrasound scan report. The doctor spent a short while reading the report, then brought her into the consulting room and gave her a checkup. Soon after, the doctor walked out and said to her, "You're not bleeding, but there is a small risk for miscarriage. You should rest at home for a little while. Don't come out. Also, sexual intercourse needs to be avoided for a while." April's heart sank. She was planning to give herself to Aaron as a birthday gift, as she truly didn't know what to get him. But now that plan could not be executed. "Should I take some medicine?" "Better not. Almost all medicines have side effects." The doctor handed the report back. As she and Winnie walked out, Aaron immediately stood up from his chair. He quickly walked to April's side, put an arm around her, and asked, "April, what did the doctor say?" He was probably afraid that the thick-skinned Jeffrey would try to carry his woman again. April told him what the doctor said. Aaron wanted to kill Esma. Why were some women so crazy nowadays? He kindly spared them, yet they never stopped creating trouble. "What was wrong with that woman?" Jeffrey asked with a serious expression. "That's none of your business," Aaron coldly responded. This time, he carried April. April put her arms around his neck, feeling speechless. She felt as if she had become a toy, and those two men were taking turns to carry her. She wasn't injured so badly, was she? "Her business is my business." Jeffrey fixed his eyes on April's face. The coldness in his eyes melted slightly, like ice under the sunlight. "Go and see a doctor if you have a problem." Aaron gave him a glare, then carried April away with big strides. "There's so many psychos nowadays," he thought. "April, we'll see each other again." Jeffrey didn't move, but simply smiled. Sensing his affirmative tone of speaking, Aaron wanted to kick him down the stairs. When hearing his voice, April couldn't help but raise her head to look at him. Under the snow-white light, the boy's face was glowing. His lip corners curved slightly in a wicked, charming, and elegant smile. She was a bit dazzled. In about 3 seconds, Erin's sour eyes blocked her line of sight. Then April turned her eyes away guiltily. After they left, Winnie walked up to Jeffrey. With a frown, she said straightforwardly, "I don't care how much you like April. She has a boyfriend, and they love each other. It was never easy for them to guard this happiness that they have. Just leave her alone." Jeffrey was baffled. Why did all these people think of him as a love rival? Especially Erin. He looked like he wanted to skin him alive. He was pleased, though. Since April was pregnant, he couldn't convince her to leave that old man now. This was an outlet for him to vent his frustrations and spite that guy. He wasn't in a rush to clarify the misunderstanding. They could think what they want about his intentions. For now. He was going to keep Erin on edge as well, to remind him that April still had plenty of suitors even when she was pregnant. He was there to teach him a lesson.
Mind your own business,
he answered coldly after a while. Winnie was about to faint. Who cares about your business? I'm not even familiar with you. I'm telling you this for the sake of Erin.
If you care about her, you should stay out of this.
Jeffrey turned to leave after saying his piece. Leaving Winnie standing there by herself, she was frustrated. Erin strapped April into the car seat grumpily. April peeped to look at him, but he was expressionless. When he got into the driver's seat, he received a call and he shouted into the receiver,
"I'm coming over later. Let the police interrogate her properly. Don't even think of letting her off without a year in jail at least."
He hung up after that. April asked, "Esma is in the police station?" Erin ignored her and started the car. April thought he looked ridiculous, and she reached out to pinch his cheeks. Erin dodged her hands and he said spitefully,
"Don't touch me with those hands that you touched another man with."
April burst into laughter. "When did I touch another man?"
"You know it better than anyone else,"
he said grumpily. "I'm a pregnant lady who got into a scuffle," April pouted. "My head hurts, my neck hurts, but you only care about your feelings. You're so busy getting jealous that you haven't even shown me any concern. All you're going now is saying nasty things about my life savior." Erin's tense face softened immediately. He wasn't driving off yet, so he turned and said to her,
"If I didn't show you any concern, why would I rush down here in such a hurry?"
"I think you're more concerned about the baby than me." April grunted at him.
"Are you jealous of the baby?"
Erin raised his eyebrows.
"Aren't you worried about our baby too?"
"I am, but ever since you've arrived, all you've asked about is the baby's condition. Women are sensitive, and even more so when they're pregnant."
"The bodyguard I hired told me about your condition already. I know that you weren't seriously injured. That's why I was more concerned about the baby."
Erin looked at her.
"Turns out you found another love rival for me in such a short time. You're full of trouble, even when you're pregnant."
April was speechless, so she rolled her eyes. "Didn't you see that I was disheveled like a madwoman? How did I seduce him like this?"
"I don't think so,"
Erin grunted.
"Quit downplaying yourself in front of me. We both know that you look the best with your hair slightly messy and all. Every time after we have sex and when you wake up, your messy hair looks so irresistible to me."
April wanted to look at herself in the mirror right away. How irresistible could she look? Anyway, wasn't your bodyguard a little slow in ensuring my safety? April rubbed the back of her head. She had been hit there by Esma multiple times. Thank God for Winnie and that boy today. She hadn't even asked him for his name yet.
"You don't like the bodyguards following you too closely, because that'll make you seem vain. That's why I asked them to stay back a ways. When you were on the 3rd floor, they were still on the ground floor. They couldn't see you when it happened. When they got there, Esma's arm was already broken."
April frowned. That boy was really brutal. Esma was an evil woman. But normally, when trying to save the victim of an attack, people would only hold the attacker down or call the police, instead of neatly breaking the attacker's arm as that boy did.
I think it was pretty cool.
Before he could finish his speech, Aaron received a warning glare from April. Aaron gave a fake smile and said,
I think you treated that boy quite differently. He carried you and you were so obedient. Didn't you feel awkward when a strange boy held you?
While he was speaking, his eyes glowed with a dangerous light. He was an extremely confident man. However, ever since he met her, his confidence was destroyed by her by degrees. That boy was pretty indeed. He looked not yet mature. When he grew to Aaron's age, he would become comparable to the latter. Hearing his question, April paused briefly. When she was being held in that boy's arms, her mind was completely pure and innocent. She also had a strong feeling that he didn't do that to take advantage of her, or because he was in secret love with her. It was weird that she had such a feeling. No one would believe her even if she told people about it. I was attacked. I was dizzy and my head was aching. How was I supposed to struggle? Besides, I need to think of the baby. April rolled her eyes and pretended to be angry. I'm pregnant with your baby. How can you doubt me like that? How could you say something like that? I'm done talking to you. Finished talking, she turned away from him. Aaron pressed his lips together and started the car. Back in the villa. When they arrived, April was leaning on the back of the seat, asleep. Aaron opened the car door and gently carried her out of the car. Emily came out. Before she said anything, Aaron gave her a glance. She hurriedly shut her mouth. Aaron put April on the bed, then covered her belly with a blanket. After that, he drove to the police station. As he walked into the police station, someone immediately greeted him.
Mr. Bennett, Sylvia's in her office. I'm not here for Sylvia. Sylvia is now responsible for your case.
The man smiled and then left for patrol. Aaron frowned, stood still for a few seconds, then walked toward Sylvia's office. 3 female police officers gathered around her door, looking inside her office. They were also whispering to each other and didn't realize that Aaron was standing behind them. Oh my, I regret it so much. If I knew that the witness is so handsome, I wouldn't have given this case to Sylvia.
Yeah, he's really handsome. I wouldn't be able to stay calm and record the statement. Look at Sylvia. She's so composed. She's really a woman who has seen all sorts of pretty men.
You're right. That young man whom she brought here last time was handsome too.
And her brother, Mr. Bennett, he's handsome as well.
Mr. Bennett isn't as fresh and juicy as he is. Aaron raised his eyebrows and said,
Do female police officers have so little work to do that they can only kill time with gossip?
His voice was suddenly heard. The 3 female police officers who were whispering to each other gave a start, turned and saw him. They nearly prostrated themselves on the ground. Hannah, who had just said that Aaron wasn't fresh and juicy enough, wanted to die on the spot. Mr. Bennett! Ah, Sylvia, your brother is here, she stammered. Sylvia looked up while she was taking down a statement and pointed at a chair. Sit down here first. Let me finish this up. As Aaron walked in, the man Sylvia had been talking to suddenly turned to look at him. Aaron's face fell when he saw him. It was the same face that he had seen at the hospital not long ago.
Madam, is this your brother?
Jeffrey asked lazily. Yeah. Sylvia looked over at her quiet brother and continued taking down the statement. Bro, this is the hero that saved my sister-in-law. You should come over and thank him.
He should be praised for being a public hero, but it's another matter if he has ulterior motives.
Aaron plopped himself onto the chair and commanded Sylvia.
All right, you can ask him to leave now after taking his statement. You don't need too many details. You can check the CCTV in the mall.
Sylvia chuckled. Can't. Esma's arms are broken. Apparently this guy did it? I need to ask more questions.
Do I still need to compensate her after saving someone's life?
Jeffrey hugged his chest.
That woman was crazy. When I was trying to grab a hold on her, she was struggling frantically and she broke her own arms in the process. Simple as that. Why were you there then? Aaron asked coldly. Your actions are making me think that you are a crazy stalker in love with my woman. Do you know April from long ago? Was that why you were at the mall? Because you had a crush on her? Jeffrey grunted lightly. I do quite like her. So what? Aaron was enraged. Bastard, let me warn you. Stay away from April from now on. She is my woman and she is carrying my child. Keep your feelings to yourself. Do you hear me? It's okay. I can take care of your child too. I won't mistreat her. I have plenty of money. Jeffrey smiled brightly at him. Aaron glared at him as his lips quivered in anger. Scram! Sylvia tapped on the table with her pen and cleared her throat. Can you respect me as a police officer? Bro, I'm questioning a witness here. If you're going to continue to interfere, don't blame me for being harsh. I'm just worried that silly you would miss out the fact that he is a crazy psychopath, Aaron said mockingly. Jeffrey stood up and put his hand in one of his pockets. I've told you everything about it. If the woman's family is going to sue me, they can contact me anytime. I won't give them a single cent. I'm happy to bring the case to court if they want to. Wait, tell me your home address, Sylvia said. Jeffrey started reciting his home address, and Sylvia found it more and more familiar as she jotted it down. By the time she realized it, Aaron kicked the chair away and stood up. You stayed next door to April? Yeah, Jeffrey grinned. I spent $5 million on the 2 apartments next to hers just to move in closer to her. It's under renovation now. Sylvia was stunned. Damn, April was amazing. How did she capture the heart of a strange man like her brother? And how did she end up seducing another, even while she was pregnant? He had spent $5 million just to stay next to her. He must be filthy rich then. Aaron was stunned too. He had seen other suitors chasing April before, and he secretly checked her phone too. There were always strange boys trying to slide into her inbox, and he had deleted all of their requests. This was the craziest one yet, even crazier than Ryan.